Welcome to Hardfire Media, libertarian issues in focus on Brooklyn Free Speech Television. My name is Derek Sacerdote.
Yes, it still is.
I am today's host for Hardfire. I've been the host for a couple of shows here and there. Thank you both for watching our show. Today we have on our show, again, Cameron Weber.
Hi. Derek's kidding. This show's on 3 times a day, the third Tuesday of every month on Brooklyn Free Speech Cable.
Excellent, excellent.
And sometimes they pop it in when they don't have anything else to show, too.
Really?
Yeah, sure. You can. You never know. You never know. You can turn it on and there it could be. You never know.
Us.
There we are.
So Cameron's accolades are limitless. He's an economist. He's a historian. Today he's here to once again...
I teach economics.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't gotten to that yet.
And what do you, Derek?
Yes.
Tell us.
I am self-employed at none. That's
Yeah.
my profile says.
Self-employed, right?
At none.
And which means that you're one of the 30 million Americans who are an entrepreneur who doesn't receive government health insurance or employer-provided health insurance. So
That's the definition of self-employed?
that's one.
I thought it meant we didn't have like a standard employer or job. It
Could
didn't
no
report,
boss.
Didn't report to a, yeah.
Do you have health insurance?
No.
Neither do I.
Oh.
So
How do you feel?
like the 30 million people who have trouble getting health insurance. That's because you're self-employed, which is the American, entrepreneurial culture is not so much as what it once was.
Well, it's a trade-off. Life is a trade-off.
It is a
You know,
trade-off.
everything in life is a
I am
trade-off.
going to get catastrophic health insurance, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I find out about it.
And we'll have a show on it.
That would be
Right?
good. That would be
Right.
good. Yeah. So, but today we're talking about our main man. Right. Today we're talking about Adam Smith.
That is a thick book
This is our second show on Adam Smith,
in a two-part series.
a 2-part series. Right.
So Adam Smith, for most of us who went to public school, he was maybe an aim one day in senior semester economics.
Yeah.
We might have remembered that he was the free market guy.
Yeah.
And if you went to college, you might have had a whole week on him, maybe, if you took an economics course. But
Sure.
but-
You'd hear about him within the first week. Yeah.
right.
In a college.
So
economics.
he is
He was the first English language economist, more or less. Yeah.
he is synonymous with the free market, laissez-faire economics.
Yeah.
At least he's historically he has been synonymous.
That is
with
the
that
myth.
idea.
That is
the myth.
the conventional wisdom.
Yes, okay.
That's the conventional
And
wisdom.
your research, and just to clarify my role to the viewer,
Yeah.
I am here to try and make approachable some of the scholarly material on some of these libertarian issues.
Yeah.
Try and bring it to the layperson.
Yeah.
Because Cameron is very deep. I am not.
Yeah, I'm not either. And that word libertarian, very good. That comes from Adam Smith's school of thought, classical liberal. So he was against a divine right to rule in the church and the state, and this Enlightenment then was called classical liberalism, right, as opposed to modern American liberalism. So the term libertarian is also synonymous with classical liberalism to a certain degree.
Yeah, the way that some of these political terms evolve over time can be confusing.
Yeah, I use libertarian is also as a political party, but I don't think either of us are involved in the Libertarian Party anymore, but we still are classical liberals or libertarians.
Yes, there's the capital L and lowercase
Yeah,
L.
yeah. So Smith's myth is like a libertarian, but he's not really, is what we're talking about on the show. Yeah.
And myth in the sense that he did actually not only believe in but advocate for certain interventions
Right.
that a modern, say, Republican or conservative would theoretically be opposed to. Theoretically.
Theoretically, this national last time the biggest thing we critiqued about Adam Smith is that he was known as a free trader. Yet we found out that he has a lot of interventions for military defense reasons, national defense reasons, for imperial reasons. He wanted to subsidize businesses in Britain's holdings overseas. Go do business in India, and we would subsidize you over the short term. And when is the short term? The East India Company lasted hundreds of years.
The short term could be generations.
It never goes away. Yeah, exactly.
The life of an empire, perhaps. But
Which is right.
So in practical terms for us, we're going to now look at some of the other lesser known or less understood points that Smith had made.
Yeah, interventions.
That interventions that deviate from the way in which he's portrayed.
Yeah, yeah.
And
why don't we look
okay,
at
okay.
Why don't we look at the way he's portrayed?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Let's start there. So, if you went to school and you were taught about Smith, what would you?
If you paid attention.
If you paid attention, if you had just finished the class on Smith, what would you think
lunch,
of? Yeah, what do you think of Adam Smith for the?
Yeah, so right. So Smith is known as this free trader, and we the first show we did last time, we showed that he's not a free trader.
Not at all, no.
And Derek is very precise in his. He calls him like he sees him. Mm-hmm. Okay, so. This is a famous quote from Adam Smith that a lot of people use to show that Adam Smith was a libertarian or a classical liberal or a free market economist.
Okay.
And this is the quote. Little else is requisite to carry a state to the highest degree of opulence from the lowest barbarism, but peace, easy taxes, and a tolerable administration of justice, all the rest being brought about by the natural course of things. All governments which thwart this natural course, which force things into another channel, or which endeavor to arrest the progress of society, are unnatural, and to support themselves are obligated to be oppressive and tyrannical. Yeah.
So, Professor.
Why? Because I just read Adam Smith.
I heard certain things there that
Professor.
I was confused by. I was confused that someone who is portrayed as this free market economist is advocating for taxes, and then I'm confused by the term easy taxes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this is Old English, so what would that mean to us? Easy.
Let's see. Well, a lot easier than the church and the state who would take 40% of gold off the top.
Off the top of the entire tax revenue? Or off top of everybody?
When the ships were coming in with gold,
okay,
the state would take 40% of that gold.
And then, was that the only taxes, or would there be more taxes beyond that?
I think there was. I wasn't living then, but
well, I'm curious.
I think there was canal taxes, road taxes.
So that 40% was just only a portion of the taxes that a merchant was going to be charged.
Sure. Just like today, there's many taxes, and most of them are invisible, and that's called the fiscal illusion. And the reason that you don't pay all your taxes on April 14 and then vote on April 15 is so that the state can hide how much taxes.
So by the time you vote, you can forget what all the money that you spent.
Yeah, right. Like I bought some memory discs for this digitization project we're working on, and it was like $30, and I press a button, boom, and the stuff arrives the next day. But the city of New York gets $30 for doing nothing.
Right.
I sit there and press a button and get $30.
Yeah, we're almost numb to taxation because it's such a constant in our lives that there's going to be extra fees just thrown on everything.
Everything.
Even things that the government has absolutely no role in.
Well, in fact, this television studio
is
that Brooklyn Free Speech is paid for by taxes on cable companies.
So
because they have a monopoly, then the people who get the cable, because they allegedly have a monopoly in the programming, they get taxes in order to pay for free speech TV like we're doing. So this is tax funded.
Isn't it ironic that we're here? Doing this show in this context.
It is. Life is filled with ironies, and as we're finding out from Adam Smith, it is a great.
So we are here as free market economists.
The dialectic
opposed to taxes.
You could call it a dialectic.
And here we are at a tax-funded TV studio.
Well, I'm not opposed to all taxes.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to misspeak.
I can't really think of any taxes I would support.
Okay,
but
if it comes to you anytime during the show, just we'll go back to it.
Military defense, but that's way out of control. It's like the slippery slope, like you said before. Once you have one intervention,
you can't be a little bit non-libertarian. So
I wanted to talk about progressive taxation.
So today we're talking about again, for the layperson, we're going to discuss some of the ways in which Adam Smith was an interventionist. He was not a free market economist. So what did Adam Smith say about taxes? So you mentioned this easy taxes concept.
Easy taxes and low administration or easy administration of justice. In other words,
to clarify before you go on.
That's what the taxes would be paid for, is for the administration of justice.
You mean to run the court system?
Yeah, the courts, yeah.
So courts can't run without tax money?
I didn't say that.
I'm just in his view.
Okay. I'm trying to put one together in that quote.
Okay. So just for context, easy taxes means less taxes than had been traditionally the case. Doesn't mean he doesn't give a number, but
as far as I know, he doesn't.
He
give
means
a number.
lower taxes than was the norm at the time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
so let's proceed.
And instead of the divine right to rule of the church and state, he wanted the rights of man, and that was the Enlightenment. And as part of that is less taxes, right?
But taxes were still being collected and going somewhere, just not as much.
He's got taxes
that's
in there.
the sense. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, he's got progressive taxation also.
For those of us who don't know, who need to maybe redefine that for those of us who don't pay attention.
Progressive taxation?
Yes.
As opposed to regressive taxation?
Both, yeah. Yes.
So
as opposed to flat taxation, yes.
Exactly. So a flat tax is when everybody, no matter a flat tax, very good. You explain it.
Okay, so a flat tax would be if we all were to be taxed, say, 10% of our income.
Exactly. Everyone taxed the same.
Regardless. Now, one might argue that's not the same. If 10% of my income and 10% of yours might not be the same money, but it's the same percent.
Exactly.
Or a flat tax could be the same amount of money regardless. Different kind of flat tax.
And that could be one definition of an easy administration of justice is when everybody's taxed the same, right?
But then some might argue that's easier for some than others, right?
Yeah.
But
so progressive
taxation. So what is a progressive tax?
Right. So if you make more income, then you pay a higher tax, a higher income tax. But we're talking about income tax now, and there's many. There's
all kinds of taxes, but aren't many of them progressive? Like if you buy more, don't you pay more tax?
Well, the way taxes are now are regressive because sales tax, right? Everyone pays in New York what we pay 9% sales tax.
Almost, yeah.
Almost 8.873.
Yes. Even the decimals are so complicated that people can't follow them. So I think that's to confuse us.
New York. It's so great that the taxes are twice as much as everywhere else. We were in Spain over the summer. Everything was half price. Everything's half price. So Adam Smith has.
So explain why is that regressive?
Because
what does regressive mean?
Yeah, those who have less disposable income, in other words, those who make less income, spend more of their income on day-to-day purchases. So therefore, they're paying more for the sales tax than those who make more money.
So you're saying that people who are
sales tax is regressive.
Poor are doing more, are spending a bigger portion of their income shopping?
Spending a bigger portion of their income on sales tax.
Because of the kinds of things that they have to buy?
Yeah, because of the necessities of life.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's regressive. Now,
don't you think that's regressive?
That would be regressive. I'd have to think about why that works out to be the case, and then progressive tax.
If you're spending a larger percentage of your income on day-to-day survival and you're having to pay sales tax on that.
Oh, I got you. So
that means
for example,
sales tax is regressive.
if a wealthy person and a poor person both spend $200 a week on food,
right.
on groceries, they all eat the same groceries.
Yeah.
But that $200
plus the same calories
plus taxes at the same supermarket even.
Yeah.
That the taxes on that is a bigger portion of the poor person's income than is for the wealthy person.
Yeah.
But then that might be considered flat if you go by percent. Or if you go by actual dollar amount, that's flat.
Exactly.
Now, what's a progressive tax? That's what we hear liberals and Democrats advocating for. What's a progressive tax?
Yeah, the Democrat Party, I guess, right now has two wings. One is the radical left-wing party, and the other is more middle of the road.
How does it even fly?
I don't know. Tax the rich is what wealth tax.
That's the battle cry.
Yeah,
tax the rich.
Tax the rich.
They want blood.
Which means you tax the things you want to get rid of. So if you're taxing the rich, that means the rich will be leaving the United States, which they already have been for doing the last 10 or 15 years.
Wait a minute. I don't hear on their advertisements tax the rich to get rid of them. I'm not hearing that.
Well,
I hear different. I hear much different words.
Well, let me just say that's to say, and then if you do leave the United States because you don't like to tax the rich, then they would tax your wealth as you're leaving the country, right? Because they say they, meaning what I'm talking about is hypocritical left-wing politicians who say tax the rich. And the reason that's hypocritical is because they get supported by labor unions, and labor unions have a lot of money in overseas bank accounts also.
So advocates for the
anybody who's saying
class.
Tax the rich and being funded by labor unions is a hypocrite because labor unions have money overseas.
So
also.
in other words, the labor unions supposedly advocate for the working class, but the labor unions themselves have assets
overseas
invested that are taken from payroll deductions and so forth. How
sitting overseas and
overseas. The overseas is a part. I don't mean to ignore that, but that's a separate. Yeah,
that's the separate.
Yeah. So Adam
Smith.
So Adam Smith. So so he favored progressive tax, and what's his rationale?
Okay, so I'm going to read from Adam Smith, and this is Old English.
Okay.
So,
you may have to translate it for us. I'm not even that good at New English.
Right. Yeah, okay. That's why you're on our show.
Yes,
very
yes.
Orwellian, right? Neither of us are very good in English, so we're doing a TV show. So Orwellian in action. Okay. So this is Adam Smith. Nothing can be more reasonable than that a fund which owes its existence to the good government of the state should be taxed peculiarly or should contribute something more than the greater part of other funds towards the support of government. So he's already got an argument for a tax fund, right? He's already saying that the support of government, then so does taxes. Some kind of a fund for government.
So it seems as if government is supported by taxes, already you're going down that slippery slope very fast. Of course, you need taxes. If you need a government, then you need taxes,
See,
right?
The thing
it just goes. You go downhill fast.
The thing is, for Adam Smith, the government is the English Empire.
Yeah,
right? It's not this city or a small state.
It's not this very amorphous. It's a very specific government he's talking about. It's not.
It's the British Empire, and the navigational acts, and you having to use British ships to go between British ports, just like the United States, the Jones Act. You have to use American flagged carriers to go to Puerto Rico and Hawaii, and that's all in Smith. We talked about that on our last show. We talked about that, yeah. So this is what Jacob Viner, a Chicago school economist from the 1920s, this is how he interprets Adam Smith on that. Viner says he lends mild support to the principle of progressive taxation, and this is from Wealth of Nations. Adam Smith, it is not very unreasonable that the rich should contribute to the public expense, not only in proportion to their revenue, but something more than in that proportion.
Not very unreasonable?
It is not very unreasonable.
Not very unreasonable. That's that the rich should contribute
more than.
Yeah, that sounds like progressive tax to me, even though it's couched in all this language.
But it's not very unreasonable, so it doesn't seem like he's supporting it all that
not
much.
Very unreasonable that.
Yeah, it is not very unreasonable that the rich should contribute to the public expense.
Well, keep going. Not only
in proportion to their revenue.
That's a triple negative. So I think it's back to not only in proportion to revenue.
Yeah. So
but
a lot
a triple negative. I think what he's saying is that the rich should give more than the share that a flat percent would suggest.
It's progressive taxation.
So like essentially he'd be talking about like Jeff Bezos should pay more than the percent that say me or Cameron would pay in taxes.
He's the guy that we buy all of our inexpensive groceries from, right?
Right, but
very good quality, inexpensive groceries.
Or other items like.
So doesn't he deserve the wealth or no?
Well, I mean, deserve is an odd word. I mean, he
didn't he create value for other people?
I would think that.
Did he take wealth from a gun? How did he make his money?
Every transaction, whether every small transaction with a small profit, as far as I'm concerned, was a free transaction.
Yeah.
And at the end of my Amazon sale.
Except for the New York taxes, click a button and pay $50.
But he only collects those. He doesn't really charge them. He just passes them along.
Begrudgingly,
right?
Begrudgingly did not unreasonably, not very unreasonably is he doing that?
Right. But every transaction on Amazon, every purchase, at the end of the purchase, it's done. We're even.
Yeah.
So
exactly. We both gain.
After many millions of transactions, that company is now wealthy.
Yeah.
So after a bunch of fair transactions where nobody's owed anything, how is he suddenly now in debt to us or to society?
That goes back to the abuse of language.
Yes.
Just like a liberal used to be a small state person, now a liberal is a big state person. Giving back means that you took something in the first place.
Well, giving back after a series of free. Even trades. Yeah. Well, I think what's being implied. What's being implied in the language is that those small transactions, the millions and millions of transactions that took place on Amazon over the course of a year, even though we think of them, you and me think of them as, let me just go on my phone, that's a free transaction, and I want to buy this, I'm going to give my money willingly, and they're going to send me these items. I think of that as a free transaction. to one of these liberals, it's not a free transaction. It may not be a free transaction to everyone because, for example, let's say someone is really in need of certain items. They need the items almost more than Amazon needs their money at that moment. They have a greater level of need. They have a greater level of need, so that takes away that would take away the voluntary nature of the transaction. If the buyer and the seller are not equal level.
That's sociology, yeah.
But I think it all hinges on that notion.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So, and this goes back. I have friends who support Adam Smith a lot, and
rightly or wrongly.
Like we said, his critique. The Enlightenment was a good idea, getting rid of the divine right to rule and having the rights of a law, rule of law, instead of you do this because I say so, the way it is in the United States now, right? So my friends support him in something that's called analytical egalitarianism, where we all are the same and we all have the capacity to take care of ourselves. So there is no sociological. Like you said, no one can determine what you need more than you can determine what you need.
Right.
And that's analytical egalitarianism, or that's the Enlightenment. The divine right to rule, the king doesn't know better than you. You know better than you know better than the king what you need and want. And that it is in Smith, or at least my friends' readings of Smith, even though we find progressive taxation.
But, I mean, isn't the very idea of government... the very idea, this is way off topic.
Are you a radical,
what?
Derek? Are you now, or have you ever been a radical?
Probably so. The very idea of government.
And are you an anarchist?
I've been accused of that. I've thanked them. The government itself is an insult to what you just said. The existence of government is an insult to that. The idea that the individual knows best. But we are running.
It is an insult.
We are running short on time.
We talked about Smith and his progressive taxations. What else has he done? Regulation. He wanted to put on an interest rate cap.
Interest rate cap does not sound very free market.
Right. Just like today, we have interest rate caps on payday loans, and it's very hard for payday loans and that type of thing in certain jurisdictions, which means that the worse off can't get access to pay the rent and the phone bill.
So was that like a biblical idea?
What?
Because isn't that considered usury?
Smith does not couch his phrasing of an interest rate cap on religious ideas. We're not sure. Adam Smith stopped going to church when his mother died. So he could go to church with his mother, and then when his mother died, he stopped going to church. So
but that doesn't mean some of the ideas didn't take hold.
Well, he thought that people were not intelligent enough to borrow money at high rates of interest and invest into good things. So he thought that only the stupid would take risky investments.
Well, that's often the case, but isn't that how people learn not to do that?
Not only is that how people learn not to do that, very good, but that's also how entrepreneurs make money, by taking risk.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a great idea, I'm going to lend you the money, even though it's going to be risky, great idea. But Smith thought that
success comes out of risk.
Yeah, of course.
A friend of mine says, "Scared money don't make money."
Exactly.
Right.
So that Smith was against that.
So. Scared money don't make money.
That's right.
You've heard that before? Yeah. So.
Sure. So a lot more intelligent than Adam Smith in that regard. Yeah. So he had interest rate.
Yeah, I made a mistake.
That's called a nudge.
I made a nudge.
A nudge. In economics, that's called a nudge. Again, people aren't smart enough to know what they themselves should do. So they need to be nudged by government.
It's free market with some tweaks. So in other words, we're running a free economy, but the fact that government should step in certain situations because we couldn't handle the market can't handle certain things. The same way some people believe that, say, healthcare requires that nudge, or education requires that it can't operate the same way everything else operates.
Exactly.
A nudge, as you.
Yeah. That's
such an ethnic word, nudge.
Derek is a great host of this show because he always has funny
I
insights.
say things that got to be.
Insights.
I say things that got to be edited out afterwards.
You have to think about these things for a while. What he means is nooge. But
Nuge?
yeah,
No.
Isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
No, nudge.
All right.
All right. So,
Right.
we're going to have to transition out. Unfortunately, this is
running out of time.
running out of time.
So Smith
There's so
was
much. You know,
progressive
it can almost be a
taxation.
3-part show.
Yeah. So let me read my statement.
Okay.
All right. How much time do we have left?
40.
40 seconds left. Let me just read this statement.
Okay.
Smith's recommended interventions in public goods, discretionary subsidies, and trade protectionism and related income transfers belie his reputation as a free market economist, certainly not to the degree that he is thought of today. Smith's system of natural liberty was a profound and necessary rebuke to the nationalist mercantilist systems in place at the time of his writing. For this, he is deservedly considered a founder of modern economics. But unfortunately, we have shown that Adam Smith had so many exceptions to his system of natural liberty that we can't consider his ideology one of laissez-faire. Like the original French economists who were writing before him, they were laissez-faire economists. Adam Smith, I don't think so.
Well, this has been a revelation, as always. We've got to wrap up. I'm going to thank our audience for their interest. I'm going to thank you, Cameron, for helping me co-host this
Coasting through
this 2-part series in Adam Smith,
Yes.
the famed economist. I hope you guys have learned as much as I have during this period. I'm looking at the camera overtly as a professional host. Thank you for watching Hardfire
Yes, sir.
on Brooklyn Free Speech Network. We want to thank Brick House here in downtown Brooklyn for their help with the show. See you
Yes,
next time on
definitely.
Hardfire TV. Over and out.